Just like with the NES, the PlayStation hit the market not long after I got my Genesis. My first experience with it was playing a few games like Air Combat and, well, one of the other games on the list. Of course I was hooked. The leap to 3D was huge, and I was seeing TV-like animation and hearing perfectly captured voices and orchestral music. It'd be a while before I could get one, but just as with my NES, I eventually traded in my Genesis and games to get my first PlayStation and a copy of Blast Chamber. Today, my PS1 library is the largest physical set in my collection. I still love playing them despite the dated graphics, and I even still have that copy of Blast Chamber. By the time the PS2 rolled around, I no longer had to sacrifice one library to start another. So because of all of this, I couldn't narrow down the set of games for my niece Esther to play to just 10. Even then, I can only call this 15 of my favorites. If I added honorable mentions, this video would probably reach Cadicarus review levels of length. Let's get cracking. Since I've already spoiled this one, and since it was the first game I ever purchased, I think Blast Chamber deserves to be mentioned first. I've already done a standalone feature on this 4-player sports puzzle game that involves running around with a bomb strapped to your chest while trying to score a goal with a crystal. Dropping it in your own goal freezes your timer. If you drop it in someone else's, it reduces their time. Last one standing wins. There's also a large set of single-player puzzle levels to conquer. Not a bad start.
Boss, this is Killer. I've managed to get another machine. I hate to say it, but it doesn't look like I can clean out level 6 by myself.
One of the first games I played on the PS1 was Space Griffin VF9. As you know from my Genesis video, I love 3D dungeon crawlers, and this one was in a sci-fi setting on the moon, with you piloting a giant mech. Throw in anime-style cutscene and character graphics, full voice acting, and an actually decent story, and you've got a great title that's, sadly, mostly forgotten nowadays. Though that ending heavily points to a sequel, the only other time we'd see this world was in a Dreamcast remaster that only released in Japan. We'll get to some more popular and recognizable titles shortly, I swear, but another one that shouldn't be as unknown as it is Devil Dice. It's a puzzle game with a fairly simple premise. Roll or slide a die to match the faces together. 5 5s, 4 4s, you get the idea, with every 1 on the board disappearing if you can nudge it against an already disappearing set. There were a bunch of puzzle levels as well, but you will easily lose an hour to a single run of marathon mode. It even features an insane 5-player battle mode. If you follow me on any social media, you're probably sick of me talking about Brave Fencer Musashi by now, but there's good reason. In my opinion, it's the one game on the PlayStation that most felt like an answer to Ocarina of Time, and anything Ocarina does, Musashi does better. The story's great and kinda daft. The music is widely varied and there's solid voice acting. If you're a fan of the 3D Zelda series, I highly recommend you give this a try. Then tell me what you think of the game. Another heretical gaming stand I'll widely trumpet is that Crash Team Racing was the better game between it and Mario Kart 64. Crisp graphics, more tracks, better multiplayer, and just overall more personality. There were a few times I'd bring my PlayStation and a multi-tap to parties, and we'd play literally all night, till we had our fill of woes and Wumpa fruit. Another bold gaming statement, Klonoa Door to Phantomile is my favorite platformer, period. More than Mario, more than Sonic, more than, I don't know, Rayman. I love the simplicity of only 2 buttons to control while using level structure to keep things fresh. I'm by no means an expert gamer, but Klonoa made me feel like one by the time I'd finished Balu's Tower. I own the original, which is really pricey these days, but it's still on the PlayStation Network via PlayStation 3, and the recent remake plays just as well. Probably no surprise that Final Fantasy VII is on my list, but considering my console journey so far, you might be surprised to hear that this was my entry into the series. The PlayStation was really where I got hooked on the JRPG genre, though my start in the genre came a little bit earlier than Final Fantasy VII. I've been loving the remake series so far, and I was glad to see that one of my big emotional moments of the story, Red learning the truth about Seto, translated through beautifully.
I am Nanaki, Watcher of Cosmo Canyon, and son of Seto, Protector of our Vale.
I got a lot of play out of the Jet Moto series over the years, and I used to be pretty dang good at it. But that took practice that I've mostly lost over time. I chose Jet Moto 2 for this for one major reason. If you get this version, you don't need the first one. Every track from the original is unlockable via codes in Jet Moto 2, putting a ridiculous number of great and inventive tracks right at your fingertips. The only Mega Man game I've played from start to finish was Mega Man Legends. I know a lot of people disliked it because of its departure from the main series platforming heritage, but hey, 3D dungeon crawler! It's a pretty fun action-adventure RPG with, well, let's just say it has voice acting.
I'm sorry, Mega Man. I had some engine problems, and...
It's okay, Roll. But I'm glad you showed up when you did.
It's got some pretty interesting world building though, and I'd love to see a remake or remaster pop up someday. Ah, Monster Rancher. What a weirdly unique upgrade of the Tamagotchi formula. You play a character who's tasked with raising a monster from youth to old age, taking them on training tasks to raise their various stats and prepare them for competition in monster battles. The gimmick that puts this over the top, though, is the ability to generate new monsters from any CD you place in the PlayStation. If you want to see more, check out my Rancher Anakev playlist, where I played the game using Twitter polls to decide each step of my monster's growth. Off-World Interceptor Extreme isn't a particularly good game. It's not terrible, but it does get a bit repetitive. The reason it's on this list is because of the FMV, which is terrible, but they realized this and added a Mystery Science Theater-like pair of hecklers shadowed in the front of the screen to make fun of the video clips. It was brilliant, and made sure that I'd never forget this weird title, and that I'd never go back to that glue planet again.
I wish I could get my hand off my chin. I'm never going to that glue planet again.
No civilian has ever survived the mission. So consider yourselves warned.
And consider yourself
Do yourself a favor.
part of the family.
Another game you'd probably be sick of my talking about on socials is Saga Frontier. When I originally bought the game, it seemed like a no-brainer. 7 full storylines for $40? It was an amazing bit of bang for the buck. And I was not misled. It plays like some of the greatest 16-bit JRPGs, but with more polish, more music, more story, just more everything. If you decide to play it, go grab the remaster on the PlayStation Network, Switch, or Steam. The quality of life editions are very much welcome, and they even restored some originally cut content. Next up is a brilliant cross between an RPG and a platformer, Tomba, or Tombi in the PAL regions. It's got a weird sense of humor, but it's another one with relatively simple gameplay that evolves over time as you progress through the levels. Almost like a Metroidvania. I still haven't played through the full game yet, but I've played the demo more times than I can count. There's now a remake available on modern systems if you'd like to give it a try, because this is another one whose price has gotten ridiculous over the years. Vandal Hearts was the PlayStation continuation of my affinity for TRPGs born from Shining Force. Releasing just barely before Final Fantasy Tactics, it's not a difficult game at all, but still challenging and engaging enough that I finished it as a teen, then again recently on a set of Twitch live streams. I also love the music in this game, full of weird, off-meter tracks and bookended by a lovely vocal piece by the dearly departed Jadranka Stojakovic.
With the song, feel love, with the fire, with the fire, with the fire, with the fire.
finally wrapping up the list is another game I can't and won't shut up about because this was my entry into the JRPG genre, Wild Arms. Released just a few months before Final Fantasy VII in the US, it got unjustly buried by the bigger game's hype. You have 3 separate characters whom you have to guide together, then each one has their own skills like bombs or magic that they can use in towns or dungeons to solve paths and puzzles. It's a great Wild West sort of setting as well, which is reflected in the fantastic music by Michiko Naruke. The series sort of died out after Wild Arms XF for the PSP, but there's a spiritual revival in the works called Armed Fantasia that I enthusiastically kickstarted. Do not miss this game. Phew, there we go. 15 games that were not really easy to review in such a short amount of time, but Esther did it and enjoyed her time with almost all of it. It ended up being a tough decision, but she did finally narrow it down to one. Okay, Esther, which one was your favorite?
Devil Dice is my favorite.
On the PlayStation there?
Yeah.
What'd you like about it?
It was just really fun and very puzzly, and I like puzzles, and it was really fun.
Cool. Net Yarose for the win. I don't think I could have picked a favorite out of this bunch myself, but how about you? Agree? Disagree? Got your own batch of favorites? Let me know in the comments below or on Twitter at TesseractUnfold. We have one more video left in this series. The culmination of the series and the Battle Royale to decide which of the favorites chosen will be selected as the top favorite by my oldest niece, Hannah. So please, like, subscribe, share, and enjoy, and I'll see you when we line up the final showdown.